Hi everyone, it's Sharon. I'm here with Little Sharon, and I'm going to be using Little Sharon today as my student to teach you the next lesson on painting your own reborns. And before I strip her down, I wanted to give you one last look at her in this adorable blue pinstripe outfit with the little gathered chest and rosebuds, and she's got her little lacy socks and her bonnet. And yeah, I just wanted you to take a look at her before I take her down to her white onesie, or maybe nothing at all, just so that I can really get in here and show you what I want to teach you today. So logistics are going to be a little bit of a challenge. I think I'm going to be sitting in a chair like right over here and doing it that way. It's going to be a little bit more difficult doing it with a completed reborn. I don't feel like taking little Sharon apart, but I'll do the best I can because I think I have a lot to say. So hang on. So here she is, guys, all stripped down to absolutely nothing for the intent of really using her as my student here, or my object of my lesson. So, hi little Sharon. Say hi to everyone. Um, so the next part of my series is going to be what's next after the first flesh layer. You've already completed the first flesh layer, and at this point you're probably realizing that the amount of work there is to painting a reborn is incredible. Yeah, you're gonna know that like right from the get-go, that it's a lot of work, and you're gonna need reassurance along the way, and you're gonna need yourself to reassure yourself, and hopefully I can help you too to realize that it takes a lot to get a reborn to this level right here. And she doesn't even have hair, so yeah. So anyway, the next step that you will need to take is going to make you feel like you're doing something to bring the doll to life. This is where it's only for you, because you're going to want to see some progress right at the get-go, to keep yourself motivated. So this is where I would like to have you apply a reddish cherry color to several areas of your kit. Starting once again with the hands. Now I have hands and arms to show you guys. Fingers, this is where you're going to start. And then moving on to the legs, and then afterwards the head. So that's the order that I like to do things in. The hands, the arms, the feet, the legs, and then the head. So use the same batch of paint from the first layer if you have some left. I always do that. Comes in handy that way. So if you do, great. If you don't, that's okay too. To make you feel like your doll is actually doing something in this process, and for no other reason, apply your first blushing layer just for you. So yeah, you're going to do some blushing. You're going to start with doing some blushing, the very next step. This is how I do it, guys. I know there's a lot of different ways to do it, but this is how I like to do it. So the first layer of paint you put directly on the vinyl with the brush. That's what I recommended. But the next layer, I recommend that you put the paint on your brush and apply it to a cosmetic wedge, so that you don't disturb the first layer of paint, because if you're using Genesis, it's not baked yet. You don't need to bake every single layer, but we're going to do this for air dry and for Genesis, okay? So apply your next layer with the cosmetic wedge. The color is on the cosmetic wedge. And you also, for the blushing layer, you want to get a nice blended look. You don't want to look like there's just patches of paint everywhere. So the cosmetic wedge will help you get a nice blended look. So the first thing you want to do is you want to do the underside of the fingers. That means this portion right here, the little fingertips on the reverse side of her fingers. Just the portion above the first knuckle. Just that. And then you want to blush the inside of the pad of the hand. Okay? Then after you do that, turn it over to do the outside of the hand and put a thin layer of blush on the nails. You don't want the nails to be white. You want them to be a little bit blushed. And blush all the knuckles. There's this knuckle here, and then there's this knuckle here right before the fingernail. You want to blush those. And she has dimples. She has dimples. It's hard to show you, but blush those. Blush all her creases. Okay? Blush all the creases in her arm. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to put a little bit of blush on her elbow and a little bit of blush on her shoulder area. And if your doll's fingers are together, which hers are not, you're going to pretend these are together. You're going to want to blush right in between. Actually, it's a crease. You're going to want to crease right in between the fingers to give it definition. Okay, so now you're going to move on to the legs. You're going to start with the underside of the foot. You're going to blush the toes, tips of the toes, and then the foot pad, and then the heel. And then turning the foot over, you're going to also do the nails, blush the nails, the knuckle right under the toe, and then if there's another knuckle, you blush that, blush around here, and then put a little bit of blush on her knees, and a little bit of blush on the top of her thigh, right where it joins the cloth body. And she has a lot of creases too. So, let me see, I'm reading my notes here. After that, you're going to go ahead and you're going to blush her face. And this is the most crucial area, of course, of the doll, moving up to the face. You're going to want to blush the inside of her ears, the inside of her nostrils, the Cupid's bow, which is this little thing right here under her nose, if your doll has one, and the lips. Now, for me, I always leave the very middle part of the upper lip unblushed because it makes it look like a milk blister. She doesn't have a very big upper lip, but you can still see maybe that it looks like she has a little milk blister going on there. And then you're going to blush her, if there's any creases, you're gonna blush her chin. And let me get to, I'm rushing ahead of myself here. After you let your blushing layer dry a bit, you can move on to your first creasing layer. You can darken your blush color a little bit with a little bit of a brick kind of a color. So you want to give your creases a shade look. It's to make them look like there's shade in there. So moving on to your creasing, after your paint dries a little bit, you're going to want to use a little bit of a thinner brush, and you're going to want to use the point of your cosmetic wedge, or you can use another dry brush to ensure that there's no pooling of paint. So yeah, every single crease in your kit, you're going to want to crease with your creasing color. And creases in the neck, under the chin, the crease of the ears, the creases of the eyelids, you know. There's going to be lots of creases on the feet. So let's see here. So, oh yeah, around the outside of her nose, crease that. And you can outline with a little bit of color, you can outline her lips. By now, you're receiving some encouragement by something is happening now with your kit. You're seeing some kind of signs of life in your kit. And you should now wait until the blushing and the creasing dries. Give it a day. And you can still apply another layer of flesh over that to your doll, this time by brushing the paint onto your cosmetic wedge again and pouncing it on before you have to bake it. If you're using Genesis. If you're not using Genesis, still wait a day for the paint, the creasing, and the blushing layers to settle in a little bit before you do your next layer of skin tone. So the next layer of skin tone will kind of make, it's thundering here, will make your blushing and your creasing kind of look like it's underneath the skin. That's what you want. You want to make it look like it's coming underneath the skin. You're going to do many, many more layers, so this is just the beginning, just the very beginning. So the next layer of flesh that you choose should start matching the inside of your arm. So you might need to use a very pale purplish pink, purplish blue, but it's got to be a thin layer because you don't want it to look like the baby is blue. You just want to give it some definition and depth. Or you might want to give the doll a little bit of a yellowish, brownish wash for your next skin layer. Or if you want to keep your doll very pale, a lot of people like pale babies, just put flesh color as your next layer. Using the cosmetic wedge to pounce, and then let it dry. And then if you're using Genesis, you're going to need to bake it at this point. If you're not, you're not going to need to bake, and you're not going to need to apply a varnish coat yet. So in this series, I'm not going to go into detail about paints, colors necessarily, mediums, brushes, or anything else, or even ovens or anything else in this series. This is going to be just the very basics of painting your own Reborn, okay? So I hope this has been helpful. Remember, this next step is to make you feel encouraged that something is indeed happening during this process. That's basically it. So I hope that this has been enjoyable and helpful, and please comment below. Ask me any and all questions. That's what I'm here for, guys. I really enjoy it. See you later. Thanks for watching.